Let's start over again.
Oh, because Steve was going to be joining us.
Yeah, I'm waiting for
Oh, Steve would also make a date. so-
participants.
Yeah.
Is Steve around?
He's going to be joining us by Zoom.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. That just means that all votes, we have to do roll call.
Where is it?
He's Samantha.
Yeah, he's up there.
He's Samantha.
Oh, yeah.
Samantha.
Where's it?
Oh,
Basically, I have no idea. He didn't say.
All right. Steve, could you say something so we can test how the microphone's working?
muted.
Yes, I can say something.
Yes, thank you.
It's working.
It's working, yeah.
The video is not though. Steve, can you see us?
No,
I can. I was more worried about the video.
The owl is flashing something red.
The flash is red, that stops. You know.
It's not. There we go.
okay, now I can see you.
We are
Okay.
excellent.
Okay, if we could then call the meeting to order. We take a minute to just try to play what we do this evening. Kevin, do you want to call the roll?
Yes, Mayor Sean Reardon. City Council President Ed Cameron,
Here.
James Connolly,
Here.
Karen Cullinan,
Here.
Kristen Donahue,
Here.
Gary Gorski,
Here.
Christian Hansen, Sarah Holden,
Here.
Caroline McCarthy,
Here.
Stephen Moore. Steve,
Here,
Sarah Spalding. Madeline Witten.
Here.
So, at this time. We'll see if there's any public comment from anyone. Anyone like to comment, please let us know and try to limit your talks to 2 minutes. No public comment? Okay. Guess not. So then we have to address the previous meeting minutes. I think everybody's got a copy of them.
Yes, I received Gary's edits and have made the edits and they're ready to be posted tomorrow.
Does anybody have any recommendations when it comes to make the minutes? So I move then that the minutes be accepted by the board.
In a second. All right, let's see, Councilor President Ed Cameron,
Yes.
James Conley,
Yes.
Karen Cullinan, Kristen Donahue, Gary Gorski,
Yes.
Sarah Holden,
Yes.
Caroline McCarthy,
Yes.
Stephen Moore,
yes,
Madeline Witten.
Then we have the next meeting date, it's gonna be September 17, 2025. That works for everybody. And so the new business, we got, full statement of response to city council notification report.
I'll kind of just start there. There was at last month's meeting, there was a desire for the board to draft a statement in response to the city council investigation summary report. I received a draft statement, which I presented or sent out to all of you. I also asked the chief of staff to take a read. The chief of staff's modifications that will be up here are highlighted in yellow. The regular text is Gary's draft.
That all of the yellow?
Yes, that is it. That's the end of the end of the statement is move the library forward.
So I think the sense meeting last time was we should try to come up with some kind of apology. I don't know if this satisfies everybody or make some changes.
I guess even that point maybe is worth discussing, or do you feel like we need to make a statement?
I thought last week people thought we did.
The mayor since.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So as a sense of the board, we don't need to make a statement then?
Maybe some discussion, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I play a couple of roles here. We're board of directors, which is by virtue of being city council president on ex officio. Here, we did have a discussion last night. There are two councilors that introduced a resolution that had several suggestions. And around next steps, and again, the council did commission the investigation and report, the executive summary. Was made public, which I'm sure you've all seen in my comments in the paper, and that's aware. You know, the mayor's statement and apology, and you know, so we have heard from volunteers and other patrons during the course of the city council's deliberation last night. And you know, I said last night, and this will be repetitious to a couple of people. You know, certainly we need to acknowledge the difficult situation, feelings across the board, and some people don't want to recognize other people's feelings, and some people, you know, do want to recognize. But you know, clearly something happened that was upsetting to many folks, and in particular volunteers, and that is, you know, one of the findings from the investigating attorney who, you know, no connection in Newburyport, you know, interviewed a number of people, 11 or so. Was it as exhaustive as it could have been? I think it was pretty solid. I might disagree with some of the leanings of the three findings, but you know, it was looked at, you know, and I think you know, it's a good cross representation of stakeholders who were heard there. And I think, you know, to move this forward, I do think there should be some statement from the library board of directors. What I said last night is, however long the library's been around and it's had some board or board of trustees, I'm coming in the last 2 years as city council president, again, ex officio. In full disclosure, when I decided to throw my hat into the ring to be city council president, although I've read the charter many times and the code of ordinances, I didn't know that I would also be on the library board of things, which I guess I should have in the previous 14 years. So I'm coming into this very late in the game, and obviously the events in 2023, I got on the board in 2024. You know, had already had a head full of steam there, but you know. And you know, the board's functioning. I mean, I think it's a functional board for sure. But I wondered aloud last night about a couple of things, and some of this may be referenced in here. Again, I do think it's important for us to take a statement as the board. You know, our oversight is limited to hiring the head librarian and supervision of the head librarian, and according to Mass General Law, also supervision of materials and drafting materials, and you know, that might have been quite different decades ago or 100 years ago. But you know, as the board does you know, work and give guidance and suggestions to the head librarian, I think there's a role for us here, and I hope and the many meetings that I've been at, it's been difficult to talk about personnel matters and, you know, public and whatnot without us really knowing full stories of what happened. But I think, you know, I think to be part of moving forward, I think.
And as members of the board, we concur that the volunteers who were disparaged deserve.
Um, so, you know, I know, I mentioned last night in the committee meeting of the city council about training, and of course, I then looked up, an old email of Kevin's that pointed out that there are trainings for library trustees that's done by the Massachusetts Board of Library Commissioners. I think that would be a good prerequisite for all of us to take, and it looks like fairly comprehensive, so we do understand our role. And whether it's in this statement or not, again, I just suggest we make a statement, you know, the thought to look to other libraries around how they dealt with archives and volunteers, and sort of the two flashpoints here that, you know, there's certainly staffing flashpoint, but it's the archives and the volunteers. And you're dealing with union issues, and you're dealing with people who know a lot about archival materials and history of Newburyport. I don't. A lot of our librarians do, a lot of people in the general citizenry do. But I don't know if it's a subcommittee that could focus on either volunteers or the archives, but, you know, I don't know if the board of directors has ever had subcommittees, but, you know, some 3 or 4 of us that could take a special look at that, that would be in public, as any subcommittee would be. So those are some things that were discussed last night, but I do think there's a role for the library board of directors. I'm sorry, I haven't been more helpful in figuring out that role as I've also been involved in this as a counselor. But I do, you know, again, I do think a statement of some sort would be appropriate. I think that the draft here is definitely a good framework for that. And again, I'm suggesting training just across the board and in general. You may all have a perfect understanding of what you're doing as a trustee or member of the board of directors. I know I don't. So maybe I'm just projecting my own lack of knowledge, and again, perhaps a focus with a subcommittee. And perhaps that could involve people from outside of the library board of directors. That might include staff, it might include, you know, people who are interested in the community. And again, I'm not saying there's any magic wand that gets waved, and then, you know, if the board and the head librarian did want to make a move in a certain direction, obviously you're going to have staff involved in union input, all of those other inputs that happen to make a decision in a public entity. But those are some of my thoughts, sort of where we're at as a board, you know, with this whole thing.
Anybody have any thoughts on that? Yeah, what were you thinking? You're thinking maybe we should do anything at this junction?
Again, my intention when I submitted this
Yeah.
to the group was, I felt like we didn't really have something that we were sharing with the community. That was, personally, I was waiting for the city to take more of a lead on it. And I felt that this was, I kind of felt a bit of that happening. Since then, all these events have happened. I mean, I don't think there's anything in there that we couldn't continue to say if we wanted to say something. You know, we're not actively involved in a lot of the issues that were discussed in the investigation. It's not really what our, you know, our mandate is.
No, it's not a minute. I wonder in the language of the we understand that it should get an apology. I don't say we though apologize. I don't know. What we should be or not, but I don't think it sounds like we're apologizing.
So I mean, I think that's something we could discuss, so I think we're going to, right?
Yeah, I mean,
Drawing for recognizing the situation is difficult for a lot of people. But I wonder if the writing a letter would be better when we have an idea of what our steps are and taking some of those steps. And I know we're about to not meet again in September, so I
we certainly have.
want a brief note that we're acknowledged that it's difficult to hear.
We have that something. Yeah, I think the training, though, I think for budgetary reasons, that's been discontinued by the state, is that right? Yes.
They are still offering the trainings. They're still on the calendar, so
Oh, okay.
We're not sure how long they will be. Currently, they're still on the calendar.
So maybe we could just, you can just send out a note to everybody when they are.
Actually, it might be easier if I give you send you a link to the Massmore Library Commission.
Okay.
Calendar, that way you can go through and determine what, session might be helpful for you. Or would be convenient for you.
I feel pretty strongly with the horse of some kind.
What do you think about the statement?
I like it. I think, maybe we do want to wordsmith it a little. I don't know, we could talk as a group to see if there's anything we want to change, but why wait? We could always say something later and we have a more concrete way to move forward, but this feels like it's the time. I don't see any downside to putting it in.
I worry that if there's any, like, anybody could interpret whatever, as beautiful as this is written. I can't imagine a scenario where it doesn't make somebody mad, or lots of people mad. It's just because people are likely to see what we're saying in one way or another based on their own perspective, and it just seems like it's gonna just stir the pot.
I agree with you a bit that could happen. I wonder if something more really brief and really short,
That might be,
if that could be better. Less likely to stir the pot.
I mean, what we're getting attention of our statement in the first place is to acknowledge that this situation has happened and that we have. At some role, maybe it's just tangential, but we're certainly aware of the circumstances, and if people take it in a certain spirit, then that's their choice, right? And
We have no control over that.
I don't know that we would find any kind of magic bullet wording that would nullify everyone.
We don't have to do anything. I think last meeting, some people thought we should do something. By way of the policy. You guys are drafting something, but we don't need to do anything, no.
I mean, that's what we've done so far, so. I mean, personally, I found it unsatisfying, because I feel like, people in the community are looking for something from this group. And again, we're limited in what we can do, we're limited in what our responsibilities were in the first place.
And what our knowledge is in these situations, instead of choosing to tell us. So. But some of that language came from you, did it, Gary, up there?
Oh, thinking, yeah, I drafted a version.
Do you like,
I'm
do
sure.
you like this version, or are you thinking maybe we should do it?
So, again, I mean, this was my sense of listening to a bunch of these conversations over the past number of months and years. Tried to highlight the things that I thought were relevant in terms of, how they played out in front of us and what limited role we had in them. And I think mostly just trying to express the sense that we understand that this has caused upset in the community. And ideally, there'd be a way to figure out how to move forward without people feeling as upset about the situation. Again, understanding that we're limited in what we can do to affect that.
Maybe procedurally, just getting a sentence, but just from the board members, and do we issue a statement or not? Otherwise, we're gonna get in, well, we're not sure if we're gonna do it, and let's wordsmith it, and we're kind of doing things at once, so either to move forward or just leave it alone.
What's your thought? Think we should do a statement?
I do, I mean, I hear, people will interpret anybody who says anything around this issue, obviously it's emotional, resonance for people, but I think we should, something simple, I think, again, this is, I think it's pretty clear, it's, certainly recognition of feelings that, it's suggesting, that we want to be a part of, solving this matter or moving the library forward, and maybe come up with some next steps either now or a meeting or some sort of ad hoc. My sense, but I'm just one.
What do you think, Madeline?
yeah, I think we should
I agree with that.
Do you like this one? You think we should revisit it?
I think overall, the one thing I was thinking was, but this might be wordsmithing, I don't know for how it's, but.
That's
I
all right.
want to get there. Do we want to do a vote?
He's the chair.
No, I mean, I just want to get something committee. People like this and they want to put it up, do that. If people would rather change it, we can do that. I'm really sure that was something that. I mean, I'm just gonna annoyed that we can't find out what happened, my feeling. But when you talk to people, the lawyer said, no, we can't inquire in the city, personnel person says, no, you can't find out anything. And I said, why can't we just have somebody come to the library who knows what the history of the town is and help out? Oh, no, because the city decided years ago you can't do that. China, that's right, that's what she said. So I find that a bit frustrating, but I still don't mind it, you know, but it's like again stuff. So I'm happy to do whatever you want. I mean, it's not my decision. What the board wants to do is fine as far as I'm concerned. Kristen, do you want to wait or you want to do something?
Doing it now.
So can I speak?
Yes, of course.
I think we should do something, and I like the letter for the most part, and I'm not a wordsmith, so I'm not going to suggest any changes, but I think it gets across the point that, you know, we tried as best we could to help out, but we're not allowed to do anything with personnel matters. So I think that the mayor's apology in the paper helped some. But there's more work to do to get everybody to be happy. And I think this letter might be a start for that. And, you know, if we take some training, that might make us better board members, that would be good.
Karen, what do you think?
I agree that something needs to be said.
Think this is okay?
I don't think we should say anything, but I think you'd be outvoted.
And so can you remind us again, like, what would be the reasons why we would not say something?
Because, like, for me, like, there's a word cataloging in this statement, which raises my hackles, like, that's something that librarians do. You know, there's like this sort of muddy, we want to say everybody did the right thing, but somehow it all ended up being a mess and we're not responsible. There just seems like something, there's gonna be something for everyone to be annoyed by, in the same way that I'm annoyed by that. I think everyone will feel like they're seen but not fully seen. And it just seems like, throwing more kindling on the fire of this. And I don't know how this would lead to resolution, I think is my concern. It seems like it'll be annoying to people, but maybe I'm a negative person. Everyone else seems to think it's a good idea and I'm happy to be wrong. I'd be thrilled to be wrong. So.
What do you think, Jessica?
I am the recording secretary and have no comment whatsoever.
I was just gonna say,
No, draft, it wasn't, it's just a draft, right? I'm not- I'm gonna give the wording for spirit, you know, that's the way, just my impression, but. I don't think it was, my intention wasn't to find a resolution. Yeah. And I wasn't, because it seems like no one has to. It was more really just meant to say that we are aware of the situation that's happened. And if we don't feel like that's come through in the wording, then that's probably, if we want to make sure that's what we should focus on.
I completely agree with that.
I'm sorry, but I can't hear anything anymore.
Sorry, Steve. I just feel like we've been silent as a board publicly anyway, you know, public statement wise, certainly not at our meetings, but what does the board think? And how it comes off is going to be taken the way it's going to be taken. You're not going to please everyone.
The majority of the board members, it seems, and wish to do something, so maybe we should either take this draft or, you know, I will say that the feedback I got from it was a very sound statement. With just, you know, a few minor adjustments, which was what was added in yellow.
Well, if someone want to make a motion, that we accept that as stated. Further discussion.
Those words from the line. Is that something that came directly from the report?
Yes. Or that is in the recommended symbol.
I mean, I don't know if we want to just take our time as a subcommittee or something to work through the language, or if, I mean, certainly plenty of time has passed. And I don't know if another couple months will make a difference to it or not. I don't know, a couple of months will make the wording better. But
Is it possible to do subcommittee, this week or something, or next week, or that's not possible? Because I would have to all.
We would have to post it because it would be a public meeting.
Okay.
I mean, we could have that meeting
Yeah.
whenever we want it, and then we can come to a board vote until.
Correct. We could have the subcommittee sometime between now and September.
The pen is kind of far off though from response. I think. It's been in the headlines all the time. So I don't know why we wait to, I mean, I get why we want to wait, but it seems like it's on.
We can't take a, during the summer?
We would have to call a special meeting.
Just raising again.
Sorry.
Well, it doesn't look that, it's the council. Maybe recognize either, sometimes a long ways away. I mean, I think either we could do this now. And there's some reticence to do that. I think it would be appropriate to, through a formal motion to delegate to a subcommittee to finalize it. Need to be a public meeting, it would be 48 hours notice. Those 3 or 4 people could be empowered to then issue a statement on behalf of the library board of directors. Then we don't have to have another full schedule a full meeting. Let's think about that full September.
Good idea.
Well, the people think we need to add that, like, whether it's okay to accept it as it is now. We're doing editing.
It seems like people think that. That seems like a reasonable step. Again, this was just, so it seems reasonable. We had some discussion around exact wording. I'm happy to start with that.
So what was that?
Thank you.
Okay. So we can just table this then, Kevin?
I guess we have to, as a board, I guess we have to delegate the authority to be able to issue the statement once it's done.
Well, I thought we were gonna have another meeting.
No, subcommittee.
Subcommittee's gonna say that.
Jim, what I was suggesting is that we make a motion now, the full board, to, delegate it to a ad hoc subcommittee composed of Gary, Kristen, who else, or those 2, to finalize the language of the statement and issue. You would need to take a vote of your, issue the statement on behalf. We've been agreed for a couple of days, again, 48 hours notice, and it's keep forward.
So would anyone else like to volunteer, as a third member of the committee?
We can always name Christian.
Yes.
He's not here.
Should we name Christian?
You probably want to go.
Yeah, Kristen doesn't know some sense of it.
Well, Sarah, and too, since she's in here.
So who would it be? Gary, Kristen, Christian.
Yeah.
That's 3, 2 of the 3 we haven't show up here. To help along. So I'll make a motion to authorize Ad hoc committee of Barry, Gorski, Kristen, Donahue, and Christian Henson to finalize a statement on behalf of the library board of directors
And approve it for release.
and approve it for release. That's second to that.
Sarah, did you second?
Sarah seconded.
Sarah, okay.
Be my last.
All right, Ed Cameron. We're gonna vote, we have to do a roll
Yeah.
call, yeah,
Yes.
okay. James Conley,
Yes.
Karen Cullinan, Kristen Donahue, Gary Gorski,
Yes.
Sarah Holden,
Yes.
Caroline McCarthy,
So can I vote no, like, I don't think it's a good idea, no,
okay,
okay.
Stephen Moore,
Yes.
Madeline Whitten.
Okay.
Okay, I will work with the subcommittee to find a time to do this.
And then we have communications.
There were no communications brought forth for discussion to board.
And then we have a report for us.
Yes. Okay. Right now, I just want to let you know that we're moving forward through the budget process. Met with the Budget and Finance Committee on the 5th and discussed the library budget. And I will be meeting with or be attending the City Council public hearing on the budget tomorrow on June 18th. It is expected that we will know the final budget numbers as of the end of that meeting. And then we will move on with FY 26. Are there any questions with regards to the development of the FY 26 budget? Okay, then I will move on to library statistics. Are there any questions regarding what I sent?
Yes, reference questions and items catalogs have both taken a dip, the reference questions quite a substantial dip, and I'm wondering if that is a reflection of staffing loss? That's the canary in the coal mine of the staffing situation, or if it's just incident?
Reference questions, unfortunately, is one of those things that it's kind of, we use, like the manual system, we have to log in the question. So it can be that if you don't log in the question, then it doesn't get recorded. I'm not saying that, I will say that we still have a respectable number of questions, but I can't give any serious incidences. The only thing I can say is that, actually, we didn't have a dip in March for the elevator project, but
Just curious.
yeah, no, there's nothing that's been brought to my attention. I will say cataloging, the issue with cataloging is not that we don't have items to catalog. It's that there has been an ongoing issue with our main vendor, Ingram. Their logistics essentially had major issues this year. So we literally, there are months when we went without getting more than a box or two. And then we started getting, 5 or 6 boxes a day. So, yeah, it's just unfortunately, it's our vendors have a great deal of chaos in our reception, cataloging, processing of items.
Ask about outreach attendance, Billy.
Sure.
Significant jump there.
Yes, the outreach attendance actually, during the fall and spring and summer, we have the larger events that we go to. They don't happen as often in the winter months. So that's when we encounter a larger amount of people in that type of outreach. The regular outreach is a steady group that occurs on a monthly basis, but it's not as large as the marketing outreach. I will say that the marketing outreach that I engaged in, we had 84 people at the Green Expo, all learning about how the library contributes to sustainability, so it was a great experience. Any other questions regarding library statistics? Okay, then I will submit the rest as transmitted. Moving on to let's see. Personnel. Any questions regarding what I mentioned? Okay, I will submit the section as transmitted. Buildings and grounds. Actually, I didn't send you anything, so we'll submit that section as transmitted as well. Outreach and community partnerships. All right, I will submit this section as transmitted. Moving on to programming. Any questions regarding the information I sent you about last month's programming? Right, I will submit that section as transmitted. Moving on to the calendar. Any questions regarding our modified openings?
Calendar,
Sure.
are these, are, what, like, when are holidays and closures decided? Like, is it all at once each year, or is it like as each month goes?
It's actually decided on a yearly basis, submit a calendar to the mayor, and the mayor approves the overall schedule.
And is it sort of tied to like other city hall, like other city things?
Typically, it's tied to the holidays and other closures that are recognized in the union contract. And yeah, that's how it is. Yeah. Okay. Unless there are any other questions, I submit the section as transmitted. And I'll have nothing further.
Anything else coming before the board? So can I get a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Second. Everybody in favor?
Oh, I gotta do a roll call.
Do it.
All right.
Who did the second?
Who did the second?
I did,
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Okay, Ed Cameron,
yes.
James Conlon. Karen Cullinan, Kristen Donahue, Gary Gorski,
Yes.
Sarah Holden,
Yes.
Caroline McCarthy,
Yes.
Stephen Moore,
Yes.
Madeline Whitten.